Good morning and welcome to Science Radio. In today's segment, we continue with our series on the workshop Hippocampus from Synapses to Behaviour, held at IISER Pune from the 1st to the 3rd of December 2013. In the previous episode, we heard from Dr. Upinder Bhalla from the National Centre for Biological Sciences at Bangalore, Dr. Trygve Solstad from Kavli Institute for Systems Neuroscience in the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, Dr. Jonaki Sen from the Indian Institute of Technology at Kanpur, Dr. Tom Bartol from Salk Institute in California, Dr. Mayank Mehta from the University of California, Los Angeles, and Dr. Vidita Vaidya from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research at Mumbai. We heard about their lectures. We heard about how they got involved with neurobiology. We also covered the poster presentation held at the workshop. Today, we hear from these eminent researchers about their opinion on the future prospects of neuroscience in the country and find out what it takes to succeed in the world of neuroscience. This is Science Radio on Vidyavani 107.4. Prashant Biraka and Sadhna Panzare are here with me today to take you through the workshop on Hippocampus from Synapses to Behaviour.
Hi, this is Sadhna with Science Radio.
Hi, this is Prashant with Science Radio. With such big names, all under one roof, one couldn't hope for a better panel to ask about the future prospects of neuroscience research in the country and at IISER Pune.
Let's start future prospects in general for neuroscience. As this meeting has shown, and I think they're enormous. As you can see from reading around, the technologies, the techniques that one has available now to study the brain are absolutely stunning. Far beyond just the amazing things that you can already do with humans, like MRI, to not only look inside their heads, but look at the activity inside their heads. There's new techniques for recording, there are new techniques for looking at connections in the brain, there's new molecular techniques, genetic tools, there's so many capabilities we now have for studying the brain. I think something which sort of spans and combines and synthesizes all of these is the ability to do computer models to try and bring together all of this information and understand what the information processing is, how is it that we can compute, and how does intelligence and thinking and everything emerge from that computation. In India in particular, the field is still quite young in India. There's not a huge number of neuroscientists, but this has been growing in a very, very impressive and very, very satisfying way to watch. I think that in addition to the vast improvements in experimental capabilities that we've been developing in India, there's huge possibilities in the information technology arena, which is partly why the emphasis of this whole workshop series is in neuroinformatics. And I think that there's a vast number of engineers and all who I would be very happy to see start to get involved because of the prospects for it.
I'm very impressed with IISER. I really liked it the minute I came in because the atmosphere is so relaxed and it's so laid back and everyone seems very happy. And I found it very compelling coming in here. They gave me a very nice tour of the labs and technical level seems to be really high. The equipment is top-notch, everything works well. People seem to be sharing this equipment in a very efficient way. It seemed to be working well, and of course they're building a lot right now, and it seems promising to be a very nice institution. I've studied in Norway and in the United States, and I think education is fairly similar in terms of what you learn, but Norwegian education is special in that it's basically free. So anyone can go to university as long as they have good enough grades. Of course, the United States is much, much bigger, so they can offer a much wider field of subjects to study, and they also have many world-leading scientists on the different topics. So that's an advantage, and that's also where, for neuroscience in particular, a lot of the science has been happening over the past decades.
I think the prospects of neuroscience, as everywhere else in the world, are also very bright in India. We have a large number of neuroscientists who have now come and joined various institutions, and now I think the infrastructure and whatever facilities they need to carry out their research at the cutting edge level is all set up, and we are just waiting for them to establish their labs and start producing great work. So hopefully in the next 10 years or so, we'll see a rapid progress in neuroscience research.
There's so many really top-notch research institutes all around the globe, and India has many of the very top research institutes and people doing the research. I was very pleased to be able to come to your country and be invited to be here. I was invited here by one of my former students, who's now a faculty member here at IISER Pune. I was very pleased to come here and see that she is in a place where she'll be able to grow and thrive, reach her potential.
The future prospects for excellence, as well as job security and happiness and all that stuff, is indeed going to be modeled after what's going on in IISERs. Because the research here is very interdisciplinary. Students don't just know physics or just biology or chemistry, they are combining different fields and they are working in laboratories. And it's becoming increasingly clear that neurobiology is undergoing a major revolution these days, especially systems neurobiology, where people look at vast and complicated circuits in behaving animals. So there's a lot of explosion of techniques from mathematics, from computer science, from electrical engineering, from electronics. These are all coming together in neurobiology to change neurobiology itself. So these students who are getting education in this multidisciplinary thing, they'll be able to make a very good contribution. So my best advice to all these people will be to really give their best to this, keeping their thing diverse, and start from the point of view of solving a problem. To say, I want to understand how 10 neurons interact with each other. Now let me go back and learn all the things I need to learn to do that. And then some more, so that my education is complete rather than just one chapter from a book. That will go very well.
I think IISER is an exceptionally exciting place. I mean, I love coming here. I think IISER is the first attempt to put something right that went wrong about 50 years back. And what went wrong is we divorced our research institutes from our undergraduate universities and teaching. And I think this was a mistake. It might have been made for specific reasons. And certainly the research institutes have been valuable additions to the country. But I think to take away the youngest, most motivated, bright minds from the space where research happens is not a good idea. And I think IISER Pune represents an example of the first attempts by the country to address that, to put young, bright kids in the same location where research is actually actively happening. So I love coming to IISER Pune. I think it has a certain energy and vibrancy that is contagious. It's fantastic to be, I think, highly of IISER Pune, and I think it will go on to become an exceptionally great institute in our country. But at the moment, it's still just begun. So in a sense, I'm watching it. It's great to watch this experiment in progress.
Finally, these researchers shared some words of wisdom for students in science and the scientific community.
I think that the field of neuroscience is an absolutely wonderful one. This is a fantastic time to get into neuroscience. Scientific questions are some of the most deepest and most amazing in all of science. The technology, the tools are just opening out new horizons, and the implications for society are also immense.
To find a topic that really speaks to you and you really like to work with, I think the most important thing is to have fun doing what you do. And of course it's going to not always be fun. It's going to be a struggle sometimes. Then it must be to just not give up. And as long as it's fun in the long term, that's what matters.
The brain, as you all know, is a very exciting domain to study, and a lot of it is a black box still. It is one of the last unexplored frontiers in biology. So if you want to really do exciting research and if neuroscience excites you, you should just go for it and don't worry about the funds or anything. All that will come. And India is just poised to start doing neuroscience research. So get on to the bandwagon.
Persistence is the most valuable attribute and virtue, right, that a scientist can have. Because the mystery of nature, nature does not give up her mysteries easily, but it does give it up to the persistent. There'll be many roadblocks along the way. Just have faith and confidence in yourself. Sometimes you have to step back, reevaluate, what you're doing, and then in the calm, clear of the morning, after you wake up, you'll see the right way to go. Never give up.
People should take a lot of interest in tinkering, which is not happening that heavily in India. By tinkering, I mean that you take whatever research problem is going on in your own hands and you say, okay, this is what the best researchers in the world have done. This is the state of knowledge. Now I myself am going to figure out what is the next step. And I'm going to build the best device to do that. I'm going to write the computer codes to drive the device. I'm going to write the analyses to understand the data. I'm going to figure out the biological preparation to get the results and so on. And in order to do that, what is needed is not just scholastic knowledge, which is very good, but a hands-on to say, let me take apart this complicated multi-electrode rig and build a better one. In the process, I'm going to fail in the first pass, for sure. I did some of those things. But only then you learn that when you're doing research in neuroscience, or for that matter anything, you're not going to a temple where the god or the rig is sitting there and you just do some namaskar around it and go 10 times. No, you're going to take it apart. Say, I myself am going to know what is the best rig. That tinkering, making little improvements at a time, is the best way forward.
I'd say that figure out early on how to have fun when you're doing science and retain that sense of fun. Also retain a sense of the importance of communicating science to the people who fund you. Don't forget that, because the risks that one runs when one isolates oneself only in a scientific community and fails to communicate it to the public at large, the taxpayers who pay us to allow us to do whatever we want to do, in a sense, we do owe it to the community to actually go back. And so I think the more we incorporate outreach very early into the standard practices of all science, it will enrich India in the long run if we do that. So that would be the one piece of advice that I have, which is constantly make sure that along with state-of-the-art research, that you do not forget that you also have the responsibility to communicate it back to people who fund you to have this chance. So I would say that that's important.
This is Prashant.
And this is Sadhna.
Signing off.
With this, we come to an end of today's episode. But before we wrap up, here's a peek at what some of the guests felt about the workshop.
Workshop is excellent. It's very refreshing to see how much neurobiology and neuroscience is developed so quickly in India.
I am finding it very interesting. I have attended the talks and they are altogether very new to me. But still I am enjoying. I am not able to understand, but I am trying. Still I am finding it very interesting. Especially Dr. Banerjee's talk. I could relate it to my work. I could get many instructions or many suggestions from him. Also Dr. Arnav Ghosh. From him I could get some suggestions as well.
Workshop is fantastic. Basically I'm very much interested in hippocampus, how the memories are formed and how that visual stimulus and how the memory can be associated and it can be stored in frontal lobe. It was very interesting to me, different speakers coming and giving their talks on their areas of research. It's definitely a very fruitful workshop for me.
With this, we conclude the special series covering the workshop Hippocampus, from Synapses to Behaviour. Apart from all the lectures and poster presentations, the workshop also hosted a musical night featuring the genius of percussionist Ustad Tawfiq Qureshi. We were fortunate to have had the opportunity to chat with him. Tune in next week as we hear from Ustad Tawfiq Qureshi about the wonders of music, his love for food, and a lot more. Do write to us. Our email ID is Radio IISER Pune, Radio IISER Pune @gmail.com. This is your host Saurajit Basu signing off.